like section out.
Just can you do a progress report on anybody?
It did.
Just need to know this.
Good to see you too. Enjoy the weekend.
Okay. Yeah, we just run. Next round. That's not yet, but.
Yeah. Then we'll see you again tomorrow. I don't know. I only look one day ahead. Gary says, here's what you're doing tomorrow. And that's as far as I think.
And just so you know.
We got good pictures of them going out there. Taking,
Oh, yeah.
see, you've got to, do you get Tim gifts every Boxing Day or Christmas?
Uh-huh.
You gotta give me gifts.
If you got me presents, I'll make you look good. I'll get you good tonight.
I think.
Yeah, Boxing Day. Thank you.
It's English thing,
You
right?
can remember it, absolutely, yeah. We enjoy Boxing Day. Oh, man. Because all the cash for Christmas is done. Everything's cooked, left over cold, eat all the cold meats, mash all the vegetables, up, make pasta sweet.
Nobody's slaving over.
No one's doing it, you just reheat, not even reheating the leftovers, maybe we go and cook extra vegetables, make like a hash.
Oh, yeah.
You have it with cold cuts of turkey and ham, relish pickles. That's good. Delicious.
Absolutely.
Done.
Have us out next year.
All right.
All right, commissioners, we will call this meeting into session at 10:03 a.m. Commissioners, county staff, welcome back. Hope everyone had a happy new year. It feels really good to be back at it with you all. You know, I had a little bit of nostalgia pulling in that parking garage. I felt like I was, a couple minutes late for class, trying to rush to get here and couldn't find parking. So it felt good to be back on Florida State's campus. President McCullough, thank you for having us. We are very thankful to have the opportunity to be here. Commissioners, at the center of everything we do as a board is our 5-year strategic plan. So for most of us, I think this is, our third or fourth, if not longer, for everyone that's been here. It's how we set our priorities, it's how we measure progress, and it's how we hold ourselves accountable to the people that we serve across Leon County. Every commission meeting reflects that. Every agenda item shows how the work we do, big and small, moves our strategic priorities forward. And once a year, we get this moment, a nice chance to step back and, take a look of where we are and have an honest conversation about where we are headed next. And so really that's what today's about. I'm looking forward to having a good conversation with each and every single one of you. It's an opportunity to build on the momentum that we've created. And more importantly, it's an opportunity to be intentional about what comes next. But to do that, we need everyone at the table. And so I'm just going to ask that everyone, when a commissioner has the floor, we be respectful, give them the opportunity to kind of talk through their points. Not saying we've ever had an issue there. I don't know if we have a set time limit of when we got to be out of here, but commissioners, this is important work, and so we'll be here as long as we need to until every commissioner is at a good place. And before we go any further, I do want to take a moment to recognize the place where we're gathered today, a place that's near and dear to my heart. I think a few of us are Plaid alumnus. We're here at Florida State University for our 2026 retreat. It's going to be a very special year for, Florida State and our surrounding community. Just 2 days ago, on January 24th, Florida State University marked its 175th anniversary. That's 175 years of education, research, leadership, and impact, not just on this campus, but across Leon County, across Florida, across the United States, and across our entirety of Florida State alumni. And because of that milestone, later this morning, here I think in a few short moments, we'll be presenting a proclamation on celebrating Florida State University's 175th anniversary. I can't think of a better place to do that than right here. Which brings me to our next honorable host, and I would like to invite President McCullough. I want to extend a sincere thank you to you and the entire Florida State University team for hosting us today, FSU has been a long cornerstone of this community, and we truly appreciate you, the collaboration, and your entirety team that it brings to Leon County.
Well, thank you, Chairman Command. Appreciate everything the commissioners do for the Leon County, and appreciate your friendship. And many of you that are commissioners here are really close friends to the university, and appreciate everything that you all do. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here at Florida State University. We hope you have a great retreat, and we appreciate you choosing Florida State University to be here. You're in the student government chambers, student government chambers of the Senate, as I recall, and much is done here. We have our senators, our student governors. Government has a lot of autonomy and spending a lot of money to support the students of the great university that we have here. So we really appreciate that. In a minute, I'll introduce our student government president. Carson Dale is a presidential scholar. He's also the representative on the Florida Board of Governors. And so he is really a spectacular student here and a great leader and a great partner. He's on the Board of Trustees as well, and very thoughtful and a very impressive person. So this is our 175th anniversary of Florida State University. So for a long time, Florida State University has been training students, educating them, many of which stay here in Leon County. And we play an important role in the city and county as Florida State. We spend a lot of money. We hire a lot of people. They spend a lot of money. We attract a lot of people to the county, and they spend a lot of money. And all that's good. That's all good for us and for the economic growth of the area. So, and we know that Leon County has been a tremendous partner for us and will continue to be a tremendous partner for us as we look to continue to do everything we can to make Tallahassee, Leon County, and surrounding areas the best that it possibly can be. And we're dedicated to that for sure. Florida State University over the last 4 years is undergoing a tremendous momentum. And that momentum, I would say we're one of the most improved universities maybe in the country. We continue to do a lot of things and continue to rise. Graduation rates have been a record every year that I've been here. Our freshman retention rates are 97%, which is on line with the top Ivy League schools in the country. We were ranked 51 this year among all universities in the United States. That's the highest ranking that Florida State has ever had. That was up 3 places from last year. We're ranked 11 among publics by Niche, which is one of the most important ranking systems in the country, especially used by students between 15 and 22. And we are very proud of everything that we're doing. Research this year was a record. Every year that I've been here, it's been a record. We had $488 million last year in research totals as we go to our first goal of $500 million. We've had some great things happen over the last several weeks. We got a $65 million gift to name our amazing business schools, now the Herbert Wertheim College of Business. So we're very, very proud of all of that. The women's soccer team won a national championship. It's their 3rd since the First Lady and I have been here. We take full credit for putting the roster together. No, Brian Pinsky's done an amazing job, and it's just a dynasty here. And we're very, very proud of all of that. Commissioners, thank you very much for all you do. It's public service at its best. I know that you work on behalf of the citizens of Leon County, and I know that you spend countless hours doing that. And no matter where you come from, we know that the hard work that you do makes a tremendous difference, not only for Leon County and for the city, but also for Florida State University. And we just thank you so much for that. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the commission. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President. And before I invite our student body president to say a few words, I would like to also acknowledge your better half, Dr. Jay Vardakar, who's also here with you. Thank you for being here, Madam First Lady. It's very a pleasure for having us in the chambers. And so,
Yeah, if you take a Point of order, I would also like to point out that the First Lady is heading up our 175th anniversary celebration, which has been a huge task, and she's done a fantastic job.
And so next, I would like to invite our student body president, Carson Dale, for if you'd like to give us some welcome remarks for being in your chambers. Thank you.
Well, good morning, commissioners. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Chairman Caban. We are really grateful that you all chose the Student Senate Chambers as the location for today's retreat. The work that the commission does is not lost on student government leaders, and it really means a lot that you chose this as the location for this morning. We have a couple other student government officers back here behind me. We have our speaker for our Congress of Graduate Students, and then also our Student Senate President, and we're really just excited to have you all here and thankful for all the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners, next, I would like to formally present the proclamation celebrating Florida State University's 175th anniversary. Mr. President, Mr. Student Body President, and our First Lady, if you will join us at the podium. Whereas Florida State University traces its origins to 1851, making it one of the oldest institutions of higher education in the state of Florida and the oldest continuous location of higher learning in the state. Whereas the West Florida Seminary began offering instruction near the site of the present-day Westcott Building in Tallahassee in 1857, became co-educational in 1858, and continued to evolve over the decades, becoming Florida State College, then Florida State College for Women, and on May 15th, 1947, Florida State University. You can applaud for that. Whereas Florida State University has grown into a leading national research university comprised of 17 colleges serving more than 46,000 students, employing approximately 18,000 full and part-time faculty and staff, maintaining a global footprint and achieving record research activity, including $487 million in research expenditures in 2025. Whereas Florida State University has achieved national recognition for excellence in academics and student success, ranking number 11 among public universities according to Niche, and ranking 21 among public universities and 51 overall according to U.S. News and World Report, and demonstrating outstanding outcomes, including a 97% freshman retention rate and a 78% four-year graduation rate and an 80% transfer student graduation rate, the highest in the history of the state university system. Whereas Florida State University generates an estimated $15 billion in annual statewide economic impact and plays a vital role in Leon County's economy through student spending, employment, research, and strong community partnerships, including collaboration with local governments, the Seminole Tribe of Florida, and community organizations. Whereas Florida State University will celebrate its 175th anniversary in 2026 with a year-long commemoration honoring its heritage and vision for the future. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, that January 24th, 2026 is hereby recognized as Florida State University 175th Anniversary Day in Leon County, and that the board commends Florida State University for its enduring contributions to Leon County, the state of Florida, and the nation. Dated this 26th day of January 2026, signed by the Board of Leon County Commissioners and attested by the County Administrator. President McCullough, thank you guys again for letting us host our retreat here. All right, commissioners, now we get to business. We have a strong agenda ahead of us today, and I think the county administrator will walk us through that in a few moments. But before we move on, I think, Mr. County Administrator, I will actually pass it to you.
Good morning, Commissioners, and welcome to your annual retreat. As the chairman mentioned, we're going to start off this morning with a brief recap of the 2026 World Cross Country Championships. I'm going to go really quick. I had a joke here about that I was going to target Nick Maddox at the beginning, that he was all stretched out, so he didn't pull a hammy because he's missing a step from his glory days, but I'll just have to do that to him when I see him. Thank goodness he didn't walk in behind me. But Commissioners, I am going to go quick on this. And it's been just a couple of weeks. It's hard to imagine. I know it's been a blur for folks, but just a couple of weeks since we hosted the World Cross Country Championships here, and it's our first time since we've been together since then. And speaking of firsts, Commissioners, the 2026 World Cross Country Championships was the first major international championship ever held in Leon County. And boy, did our team set the bar very, very high. So to say it was a big success, to say that we are enormously proud of our team, but to put the global significance of this event in some perspective, Commissioners, just look at the graphic on the screen there. I mean, this is the over 50 countries and federations that were represented here in Leon County. And I think, again, just an amazing graphic to behold there. Commissioners, in addition to the athletes, of course, the event brought thousands of spectators, 10,000 spectators from across the world to Leon County, generating more than $4 million in direct economic impact for our community. That's based on our preliminary analysis. We'll have a final analysis to share with the board in February. Suffice to say, we expect that number to grow. But like all big accomplishments, Commissioners, this was years in the making. So again, it's more than appropriate to bring it up here at your retreat. And again, it involved years of planning and investment, a very high level of cross-departmental coordination and logistics, fundraising with global partners, significant engagement with local partners, and massive outreach to the community. And of course, none of this happens without the leadership of members of our team like Amanda Heidecker and Taylor Wheaton, who are our co-chairs, and Carrie Post, our tourism director. So why don't we give them a big round of applause? How about that? They truly made this a world-class event, Commissioners. Now, Commissioners, I know you saw the event in person, but we had a worldwide audience tuning in live on NBC and streaming on Peacock. There were 250 organic articles generated from the event. That's a lot of articles, Commissioners. That translated all the media across all media platforms, Commissioners. If you look at this statistic right there, 3 billion impressions across all platforms of media. And if you translate that into economic media value, Commissioners, I was going to say wait for it, but it's right there on your screen, $16 million in earned media value. So again, very impressive. So it's safe to say, Commissioners, that the event captured the attention of the running world. And here are just a few quotes from major running outlets lauding the event and the course. The quotes reflect the absolute flawless execution of the event, and all of the quotes were effusive, except maybe one of them. I'm looking at the one that says the 2026 World Cross Country event could only be held in Florida. I think that could cut both ways. You got to be very careful about that one. That one might cut both ways. But again, across the board, the response to the event was just enormous. But I think the most important quote, Commissioners, comes from the president of the World Athletics Association, Sebastian Coe, who said that our facility, and I quote, is the best cross-country course in the world. Yeah, there you go. He later added that Leon County is the cross-country capital of the United States, if not the world. Commissioners, coming from the president of the World Athletics is one thing, but Sebastian Coe is also a three-time gold medalist. I told him when he was here that between the two of us, there are 3 gold medals. But again, but hearing that from him, of course, the credibility that brought, and way back when I can remember telling commissioners that if we do this course, it's going to be the greatest course in the world. And they said, at the landfill? And we said, yeah, don't worry about that part of it. Yeah, this is going to be the greatest course in the world. And again, commissioners, Leon County really came through. Looking ahead, commissioners, we're working to build on this success. We're already in conversations with World Athletics to make Leon County the permanent home of World Athletics. And I think the chairman intends to offer more on that in a strategic initiatives. But for now, I want to give a big thanks again to all Leon County work areas that were involved in welcoming the world to Leon County. I'm going to read this, but tourism, parks and recreation, community and media relations, emergency management, the Office of Innovation and Technology, EMS, Public Works, Facilities Management, Risk Management, Sustainability, and last but certainly not least, our county attorney's office, who handled not only a record number of contracts, but also she's got the scars to prove the international complexity of some of those contracts. And you'll probably only get her to talk about it over a glass of wine or something. But again, the whole team, just can't say enough about it. Commissioners, thank you all for your consistent leadership in following this goal through the way you've had and making the investments and supporting the organization and all the resources that were committed, that needed to be committed to make this event happen. Again, can't thank you enough. Mr. Chairman, special thanks to you for all your support throughout the event. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you know this, some commissioners get hurricanes during their chairmanship. I mean, you get World Athletics, so we'll take credit for that. So anyway, at this point, commissioners, we want to keep the agenda rolling. But Mr. Chairman, I do want to pause after that presentation and hand it back to you just in case the board has any discussion on World Athletics and the cross-country tournament. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Commissioners, I do have a strategic initiative related to that I'll bring up at the end of the meeting. Do any other commissioners would like to comment on the topic right now? Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Listen, just going to that event was just absolutely incredible. And I really want to thank again Carrie Post and Amanda for their work. This was years in the making, and it could not have gone better. I met some of the folks that were helping organize the event, and some of them have actually organized the Olympic events in prior years. And so it's that level of involvement from the international community. And then my own family, we participated in the fun run right after, and to see the community get involved and run on the same exact course as these people from across the world, these world-class athletes, just minutes before on the same course that my family was on. I mean, the dichotomy of that could not be greater. And we actually had real medals to win at the end, so it was really something. My daughters and everyone else that went through the fun run, just to get that kind of medal and to participate in that type of event was something that we'll never forget. So thanks to everyone, Carrie, Amanda, the Mr. Chairman, the County Commission, and everyone that helped out with this. It was, the community saw what happened and they saw what Leon County did, and universally I heard just incredible praise for the hard work that this team did to bring it here and then to execute it. So thanks to everybody involved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Mr. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't echo enough all the words that have been said. What I will highlight that really stands out to me is this is what community economic development investment looks like. Economic investment and development doesn't just have to be new buildings and factories. When we invested in turning an old dump site into a park and then into a cross-country championship field for regionals, then states, and then nationals, and then the best in the world, and then we brought back in 1 week alone over $4 million of local impact, that is a financial return on top of the community benefit and return we get for our wellness every day when kids go play in that park. And the drop-off site for unincorporated residents was closed for a day, I was made very aware of that by some constituents, so we even get value out of that every day. And so it really is to pinpoint, this isn't just a community pride success, this is an economic success. And to remember that when we're looking at how we invest in our parks, that they are not just pretty playgrounds for our community, they're so much more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good to see everybody. Glad to be back around the table with everyone. I just want to echo staff. You guys did a great job all the way from, the security was incredible, and I know that involved a lot of, Maggie, thank you. All the way down to the catering, that's about the only thing I'll run for is a buffet. I'm a World Athletics buffet eating champion, so I had the press from all over the world asking me how was the shrimp and grits. No, seriously, great, incredible event. I know we're all super proud of everything that went down on leading up to that, and certainly on that day, the execution was impeccable. So, never been prouder to be a part of Leon County government. Obviously, you guys and all of our staff do the heavy lifting, and so I know I speak for all of us when I say we just beamed with pride on that day. Never been so happy to not understand so many languages in one tent. So congratulations, everybody, and great to be here. Great to see everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Now, Commissioners, I intend to bring up an update to a strategic initiative later in the meeting relative to the World Cross Country Championship, but a few things. One, Commissioner O'Keefe, this event, I believe, was a staple event for your district and the east part of Leon County. Every business, every restaurant on the east side of town was just packed, whether it was a breakfast location, a lunch location. It was packed with people. One thing I like to say, particularly you see this more with football games, was that when there's an influx of people in Leon County or Tallahassee, cell phone service slows down a little bit. And all weekend, my cell phone service was slow and lagging that weekend, which was a big testament to show how many people were really in town. And, most importantly, I think that this is an example of how we should be focusing our tourism dollars. I think an event like this is a true testament to putting heads in beds. You have folks coming from all over the world, as we saw, getting hotel rooms, eating in restaurants, retail, staying here, being a part of our community for a long weekend. And as our vice chairman said, that is a huge testament to what economic development can look like. And I think we should continue to push for, through tourism, more large-scale events like that across our community. And lastly, before we go on to the next topic, is that I saw firsthand, Amanda, your team, Carrie, your team, working around the clock. From November pretty much to the day of the event, and then after the event, preparing for this. And I know that took a lot of sacrifice through the holidays, and so we really do appreciate it. And admittedly, commissioners, we talked about this for how long? Since I've been elected, I've heard about this, and then all the last year. But up until the event, I didn't really comprehend how big of an event worldwide that this was. And so I think seeing it firsthand, seeing people come from all over the world, the different cultures, the ticket sales, I truly believe that this is an event in the future. We could sell 20,000 tickets. I really do believe that. And if you look at what we do around, Florida State athletics year round, we have the infrastructure to do so. We host 90,000 people here 7 times a year for large-scale football games. And so this is a good example. I think we could build off this and continue to drive economic tourism dollars with this. So thank you again to the staff. You guys are incredible. I've always respected, our tourism team, our Parks and Rec team, but this has just given a whole new mindset of respect, seeing the work that you guys put in out there. So thank you all. Mr. County Administrator, next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'm going to do my best to keep us on track today. So if I talk a little fast, again, we've got a full agenda. As you know, Commissioners, again, the retreat's our opportunity to take a quick pause back from all the urgent and competing issues that you deal with on a continuous basis, again, to evaluate our progress, and of course, to ensure that we remain positioned to adapt to emerging opportunities and new challenges and foreseeable issues. And certainly, we're going to have no shortage of all of those. But even in uniquely challenging and ever-changing environments, Commissioners, our strategic plan is essential to help keeping us as an organization focused on our highest priorities, and while providing a level of stewardship and services that our citizens deserve and come to expect of Leon County. So throughout the day today, Commissioners, you're going to see projects highlighted that are certainly benefiting from that strategic approach that we take under our 5-year plan. And I'd first like to start off with just a very quick overview of our strategic planning process. We call it our LEADS process. It's more than strategic planning once a year. Nothing sums up a very comprehensive process like a very simple graphic. Again, this is familiar to you, but it's always important just to walk through to put that emphasis on it, because Commissioners, where we are right now is at the top of that graphic in direct. But again, this reflects our continuous process that provides for clarity and focus and alignment, and for everything from strategic planning to execution. Commissioners, our strategic plan is included in each and every one of our strategic processes, from the county's budget to how we evaluate every employee so that everybody knows where they fit in, to the big picture, down to every agenda item. Every agenda item you see that strategic planning alignment and those statements about how this issue fits into our strategic plan. In other words, it's not a document that sits on a shelf and collects dust. But again, here in our organization, it's something we put a very high priority on, because it is key to our success and to optimizing our resources and delivering results. I will tell you, Commissioners, just to brag a little bit on our strategic planning process, we have several times a year at minimum, we have organizations, local organizations to statewide to nationally, private and public, that come to us to talk about our strategic planning process, because not everybody does this level of strategic planning. But again, it's been so key to us being able to do what we do. So this time each year, Commissioners, again, starting at the top is where we identify new opportunities and set direction for the coming year. This direction drives year-round alignment across, frankly, countless efforts performed by hundreds of employees across dozens of divisions, engaging thousands of citizens, again, so that we can stay focused and delivering results. That, of course, Commissioners, you'll be so happy to know, concludes my overview of strategic planning. You're welcome. That could have easily been a 3-hour presentation on strategic planning, but that's not what we do. I want to go right into the agenda for today, Commissioners. You'll see we've got a couple of very important issues that the board has expressed an interest in for today. And of course, 2 that we expect to be very critical issues, not only in the coming year, but for the next few years and into the foreseeable future. Both of these updates on property tax reform and on artificial intelligence will feature a brief staff presentation, followed by plenty of time dedicated for board discussion. The second part of the day, Commissioners, where we'll transition into the strategic plan and into the 5th and final year of the strategic plan, where we'll begin to recap our progress on strategic initiatives and our targets and bold goals. And then to close out the morning session, Commissioners, the board will consider adding any new strategic initiatives to the plan, again, in this, the final of the 5-year plan window. So with that, Commissioners, again, I hope you're very caffeinated as I am. I want to, Commissioners, hand it off now to Nikki Hatch and Ken Morris. Let me just give them a little bit of an introduction. As we've shared with the board previously, Commissioners, property tax reform is not only a very hot topic, but it has been for a few years, as we all know, but it is one that is shared now in terms of a priority by legislative leadership and the governor's office. There were, and you're going to hear Nikki talk a little bit more about this, there were, of the 7 constitutional amendment bills filed in the House, have been flying out of legislative committees. They propose significant reductions in non-school homestead property taxes, or the outright elimination of property taxes. I'm going to hand it off to Ken and Nikki in a minute to cover more details, but up front, let me just say this, and let me be very, very clear about this. Commissioners, this is a fiscal crisis by design, what we're experiencing here. And again, there is no state plan, very important to know, no state plan to deal with the implications of this, and there is no state plan on replacement revenues of any kind. So let me just get that out there. And there's still a lot of uncertainty here, and we acknowledge that up front. One of the things you've heard me say, commissioners, in our briefings is it may be too soon to panic, but it's certainly not too soon to plan for what's potentially coming down the pike. And again, this may be kicked to a special session. We don't know exactly the path it's going to take, but it's all going to converge for you commissioners this summer during your budget workshops. We'll have the outcome of the legislative session and any special sessions. And of course, the board, thinking with a lot of foresight, authorized me to conduct an alternative revenue study that'll be coming back to you all during the budget process. So again, all these issues will converge. Something that Ken's going to talk about a little bit is what a public outreach communication campaign could look like. I say could, because again, we don't know what we're shooting at yet. So what a campaign could look look like. And again, we're going to preview some of that for you. But again, all that will come back to the board. The board will be able to bless all of that before it goes. But again, this gives you a flavor for that, because again, that's something else that the board expressed an interest in seeing and seeing soon. With all that, Nikki, please take it away.
Mr. County Administrator, one sec.
Yes.
Commissioners, any questions for the County Administrator before we move forward? Good, cool.
Thank you, Vince, and good morning, Commissioners. As you know, we've been keeping you updated on the property tax reform proposals that have been filed for this legislative session that seek to reduce or outright eliminate county homestead property taxes. As we've previously reported, these proposals at a minimum will hinder the county budget and the services we provide. The most severe proposals, however, threaten the functionality of county government as we know it. As you see up on the screen, 7 proposed constitutional amendments have been filed in the House, which have been advancing very quickly through the legislative process. The majority of these proposals have just one committee stop remaining in the House. 2 proposals, however, House Bill 203 and 209, have advanced through committee and are ready for a House floor vote. Notably, each of these proposals would result in millions in lost property tax revenues for Leon County beginning in fiscal year 28. In fact, House Bill 201, first up on the screen, which seeks to eliminate all non-school homestead property taxes, would effectively eliminate 40% of the county's property tax revenue base. Making matters worse, each of the House's proposals would hold law enforcement funding harmless, and in some cases, funding for all first responder services too, further restricting revenues available for other critical functions that do not otherwise have a dedicated revenue source to offset these impacts. So what does this mean for Leon County? The destabilization of our primary and most reliable funding source will require tough decisions to be made should such an amendment pass during the 2026 general election. The combination of reduced revenues plus mandated service levels isn't just the worst unfunded mandate to ever face Florida counties, but as noted by Vince, this is a fiscal crisis by design. As these measures continue to advance to the legislature, we'll continue to keep the board updated. But for now, I'd like to hand it over to Ken to talk more about these impacts and how we're preparing to keep county residents informed and engaged on what property tax reform would mean for them.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Nikki and the legislative team work with FAC to focus on the day-to-day tracking and monitoring of all these property tax bills, keep in mind they've got their plate full. The 7 you see here are the constitutional amendments moving in the House, but you've got over 50 property tax bills filed between the 2 chambers. So a lot to talk about and why this year's a little bit different. I'm going to talk about what the board can expect over the next few months, why property tax reform is different this year, and when the time comes, the importance of educating residents on the financial impacts to county services. Today marks the 3rd week of the legislative session, first day of the 3rd week. House is already postured to start hearing bills on the House floor and get them over to the Senate to put something on the ballot for 2026. We anticipated this fast start when we talked to the board last year about the creation and the appointment of the House Select Committee on Property Taxes. We knew that rolling into the beginning of session, this was going to be an early priority for the House. And again, 3rd week in, they're on the floor, they're ready to push out these property tax amendments. But in conversations with FAC and other local governments, we're seeing a lack of awareness of the real threat that some of these proposals have to local governments and the services provided. Perhaps it's overexposure to hearing about property tax reform year in and year out from the legislature. It's a little bit like the hurricane effect. I went through the last 2 hurricanes, they were fine, so the next one, I'm not worried about it, it's no big deal. You can't really blame voters for feeling this way. Property tax initiatives have become the norm. When we step into a ballot box, in the last 20 years, 9 of the last 10 general elections have included a property tax reform initiative. Since 2006, the legislature's placed 17 amendments on the ballot, 13 have passed. So why is this year any different? Why should people care? Again, as Nikki covered, the legislature's no longer looking at increasing the homestead exemption by $25,000. They're no longer looking at adjusting the year-to-year increase in taxable value. They're no longer looking at a targeted approach, maybe for low-income seniors like they've done in the past. They're swinging for the fences. They're trying to eliminate homestead property taxes altogether for local governments, with the exception being schools. That's 40% of our tax base. And the percentages don't tell the full story either, which is why we want to focus in for a minute on the dollar impacts in this slide and the need to educate residents once we know which and how many amendments may be on the ballot in '26. If voters approve these amendments, local governments would be prohibited from reducing funding for law enforcement, which is the largest expenditure in county budgets, law enforcement and the jail. Some of these proposed amendments also include provisions that would have this same hold harmless provision for firefighters and other first responders. This is a new tactic on the part of the legislature, and it's important to understand, again, because half the county's property tax revenue supports LCSO and the detention center. It's about $112 million, just to give you an idea. The rest of the county's property tax revenue is $105 million. So when you see impacts of 40, 50, $90 million coming out of $105 million, you start to get an appreciation for what the real impacts of this can be. And even though law enforcement is protected, and in some cases fire and other first responders, the county still has other mandated responsibilities. You still have to fund the other constitutional offices. You still have to fund the judiciary and the courts. You still have state mandated payments. So where do the cuts come from? And obviously, this is going to be the burden of reducing funding is going to be on the non-mandatory services we provide, from parks and libraries, community human services. With this in mind, you can appreciate that the numbers don't tell the full story. And so later in the spring and the summer months, we want to bring back to you additional information once we know what's on the ballot on how these impacts will affect the county services we provide. So commissioners, this is an example just of some materials we can produce later this spring or the summer to demonstrate how property taxes are utilized locally and how services would be critically impacted by the reduction or elimination of property taxes. We're not seeking any board action today for property tax reform or any public information campaign, but with session scheduled to end in mid-March, it'll position the board to have a more informed discussion at its budget workshop in April. We'll know which amendments are on the ballot. We'll be able to focus in more on the specific impacts to Leon County. And at your budget workshop in April, we'll also have the findings and recommendations from the alternative revenue study approved by the board for this budget year. As you'll recall, the board sought this alternative revenue study to assess the county's revenue structure, examine the reliability of alternative revenue sources, identify trends among other local governments, and provide strategies to best position you all, the board, with all the financial options and flexibilities to address these challenges. The alternative revenue study won't be a panacea. We don't anticipate it being able to offset $40, $50, $90 million in impacts, but it will get the board 1 year ahead of property tax reform. The amendments, if approved, they'll impact your FY28 budget next month or April. We go into the budget cycle for FY27. So you'll have 1 year to get ahead of future impacts. Commissioners, in addition to any efforts that you all approve later this spring or summer, FAC has already developed a Keep Florida Thriving social media campaign, which is ongoing at this time. The campaign tells a story of what we do and why it matters. And we wanted to share just a short video with you by FAC. This will conclude my presentation, and then I'll turn it back to the chairman.
Magic tricks are fine for parties, not for politicians rewriting Florida's property tax system. They say we can eliminate all homesteaded property taxes without cutting cops, or firefighters, or hurricane preparedness, or public safety, or anything else important. Sounds great. Here's the problem. They're not using math. They're using magic. In Florida, about 40% of all property tax revenue comes from homesteaded properties. Eliminate those taxes, and about 60% remains, and the rest of it flows to public safety. Set that aside as untouchable, and hey, presto. But now, there's nothing left for roads, bridges, sidewalks, or streetlights, or clean water, or trash collection. And the toilet doesn't flush, which I think we can safely call a critical service. All of which means one thing. If property taxes are eliminated, other taxes will rise. The Conservative Tax Foundation says sales taxes would have to top 15% to fill the gap. In some areas, more than 30%. So, next time a politician promises to make property taxes disappear, follow the math, not the magic trick.
Ken, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Commissioners, discussion? Open the floor for any questions for staff? Mr. Immediate Past Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, staff. I know you guys are in a, over there sort of fighting an uphill battle when it comes to this conversation, and I know FAC has leaned in on this stuff pretty heavily. And I know I'm probably going to echo the sentiments of everybody around this table and everybody in this room is that we are very concerned about this. I understand the legislature's desire to modify tax burdens on our citizens, but as I've said before, ultimately whatever the legislature decides to do is what the legislature decides to do. But from my perspective, I think that it's very important for us as local elected officials and even, as staff of a local government, I think it's important that when we have conversations in the grocery store and on the ball fields, we let people know, and not in a alarmist way or an exaggerated way or somehow falsely provocative way, of the real impacts of what we're talking about. And so you saw on the graphic there just a little, I think, just touching the surface of what those impacts look like. And I think a lot of people, when you tell them that, are going to say, oh, you guys are just being alarmist, you'll make it work, you'll figure it out. And yeah, we probably will make it work and figure it out, but I think it's important that people understand in a real way the impacts of these proposals at the legislature. So I know that will be my goal as the District 4 Commissioner, is to make sure that my constituents are aware of these impacts, and so they can be as fully informed as they want when they go to the ballot box in 2026 to make a decision on how they want their tax burden structured. I think it also lends itself to conversations that we can have around this table outside of that issue at the legislature, which we really don't have a lot of control over, in terms of how we as local elected officials can do what we can to lessen the cost of living, to lower the tax burden on our constituents, because that's really the genesis of this conversation. And as we learned, it's been going on for a long time. These kind of proposals have been on the ballot for a long time. And I think that's incumbent on us as local governments to take a hard look at what we can do to lower the cost. Now, I know Leon County runs a very lean operation, and we've got all kinds of statistics to back that up, but it's a drip effect on people's life and their cost of living, whether you're talking about healthcare, federal income taxes, or the cost of our tax revenue has gone up, or waste management fees have gone up, or every little MSTU, every little thing that we do adds to people's lives, and that's where we've gotten to this point. So I think it's a double-edged sword. We need to make sure we let people know what's going on with this tax reform stuff, and at the same time, probably not a bad idea for us to workshop some ways that we can find some reductions and make people's cost of living lower. So that's my comments on it, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And again, thank you guys, and thank our colleagues at FAC I think the county administrator, who I know is heavily involved in these conversations at the Capitol with FAC in coalition with them. And so I know that this is a nonpartisan issue, okay? There are Republican counties that are going to get hit hard by this. There are Democrat counties that are going to get hit hard by this. And at the end of the day, I would tell my contemporaries in the state capitol, in the state senate, and the state house of representatives, our job, first and foremost, is almost like a medical professional. Do no harm, okay? We are here to provide services to people in the most efficient and effective way possible. And we need those revenues to be able to do that. Nobody wants to charge anybody more than is necessary, but one way or the other, we have to provide a lot of these services. And if we can just look through that lens, I think we'll be all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Commissioners, I apologize. Commissioner Cummings has been in this meeting remote. I have not called on her. Commissioner Cummings, are you with us?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yes, I've been here. I apologize.
No, I apologize for
Can
not.
you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize for not recognizing you. You have the floor if you would like to be recognized for anything.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I didn't have a mechanism to raise my hand, but I've enjoyed the sentiments from my fellow commissioners. And first of all, thank you, Commissioner Caban. Good morning, everyone. Again, I apologize for not being there in person, but upon advice of my doctor, I think you all appreciate me not being there. I just thank the county administrator and Ken and those for the analysis so far as it related to cross-country. I did have a couple of comments, but I'm not going to go back to that. But I think you've all just been relishing in the progress and the success of the cross-country meet. And I certainly want to thank our county administrator, Carrie, Amanda Heidecker, as well as Taylor Wheaton for all the work that they put into that. But right now, I think we are looking at some possibilities of some legislative action that's not going to be very well taken with our county. And I believe we need to continue to be proactive. I think under the leadership of our county administrator, we have taken that. We have a company looking at some other ways where we can bring in revenue so that services to our constituents will not be drastically cut. So I think under the leadership of Ken, we've got our legislative delegation working with the legislature, and I just think we're in a good posture. And we just have to continue to be vigilant and make sure that major services to our constituents here in the county are not cut. So I think from a county standpoint, from commissioner standpoint, I believe we're doing all that we can do now. And we just have to wait and see what happens to fall out with the legislature. I know many of us have vowed to meet with the leadership at the Capitol during this legislative session, and I believe that coupled with our delegation, with our lobbyists, I just feel that we're going to come out in a good position. And if not, like Commissioner Welch said, we're going to face the task and we're going to do what we have to do to make sure the services to our citizens, the essential services to our citizens, are not drastically cut. So thank you, Mr. Chair Caban, for the opportunity to say a few words. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Your presence is dearly missed, and if I forget to call on you, just don't be shy to just jump in and interrupt me, because it's, I may forget that you're on the phone, so don't hesitate to jump in if needed. Commissioner Minor, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Commissioner Welch said it well, and that, our job as county commissioners is to make sure that the people we serve are fully aware of the implications, potential implications of some of these ballot initiatives should they pass. One thing that we've talked about that Ken and Nikki brought up is that all the proposals, the 7, protect first responders' budgets, right? In other words, it protects them from any future cuts to their budgets. But what that means, though, that also affects the ability of first responders over time to provide services to every county in the state of Florida. Because if if there are no cuts projected, if cuts are prevented, that doesn't prevent future increase. I mean, increases are also prevented, which means that over time, as costs increase for first responders, their budgets aren't increased either. So we're also seeing a decline in the quality of services that they would be able to provide over time should some of these ballot initiatives pass. Is that correct?
Close. Rather, each of the proposals would prohibit local governments from reducing any funding levels, specifically for law enforcement, beginning in fiscal year 28. There's two bills, House Bill 203 and 209, that have since broadened the definition of law enforcement to also include other first responder services. But to answer your question directly, we would be able to increase those funding levels. We would just be prohibited from decreasing them.
But the pressure upon us, though, if we see our revenue decrease by 40%, it's going to be extremely hard for us to increase first responders' budgets in light of the other services that we are trying to find any solution to provide funding for. So what that means is that the financial pressure upon us and Leon County, as well as every single county in the state of Florida, to increase first responders' budgets, even though they might desperately need them, is going to be even harder because of these initiatives should any of them pass. That's my point.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I also, I think the chairman said this as well, and Vince, but the Florida Association of Counties has done a tremendous amount of work and research on this statewide, seeing how the effects would be applied to every single county, and they've done a lot of work for Leon County as well, too. Just want to thank all of their folks for the work that they've done, and we'll see how this goes over the next several weeks. But as Commissioner Welch said, I think the job for us is to make sure that the citizens that we represent are fully aware of what the implications are and how we would deal with them should some of these ballot initiatives end up passing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Mr. Vice Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple questions. If we saw something like the 40% cut, you mentioned cutting essential services or removing what we consider essential services, and we're still obligated to keep fully funded and not decrease law enforcement and court administration. With a 40% cut, would we even have the funds to perform the obligated services of law enforcement, detention, and court administration, or would we actually be unable to just perform the statutory obligated functions?
The first bill on that sheet, which was the 40% cut, about a $93 million cash impact. The property tax revenue that does not go to the sheriff's office is about $105 million. So you'd be making a $93 million cut to $105 million expenditures in property tax revenue. So it's just not even close. It's a new day with the legislature swinging for the fences. The other one is basically a 10-year phase-in of eliminating homestead property taxes. And the first year is about a 18% or $43 million impact.
And roughly how much do we support for court administration?
Court administration would be in your mandatory responsibilities. And there's two different types of mandatory responsibilities. And I think of this as a red light, yellow light, green light. Red light, you can't touch law enforcement.
Yeah.
Yellow light, you have mandatory expenses, some of which you may be able to play around with how much staff or how often you're replacing fleet vehicles and equipment in supporting the judiciary or constitutional officers. But then there's other things, state mandated payments. You get a bill, you have to pay it. There's no leeway.
What you're talking about in the 40% example, taking roughly $105 million of the amount that currently only that left over after the sheriff's office budget, you take away $93 million and you leave roughly $10 million.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound like it even covers state mandated payments and required court administration. So we're not just talking about having a limited amount to do other things. We're talking about having to find a way to even do what we're required to before.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then what would the impact be on us being able to pay our debt service? We have long-term debt service based on the historic operations, budget, revenue, and expenses that our citizens have asked of us over decades. What does that look like for us?
the county's paid down a lot of debt in the last few years, and that would be part of our analysis in the spring once we know what's finally going to be on the ballot. And that could be multiple amendments.
And then, do we know if any of these pass, which I think we need to plan for, we are going to have to make drastic decisions. And now I know we, as district commissioners and at-large commissioners and local officials, part of why it's so important that we keep this home rule is we're often the closest to our constituents, and we probably have our finger on the pulse best about what they care about most, about what we do. But we're going to have to make extreme decisions. Do we have some real up-to-date input from our constituents and citizens ahead of having to make decisions like this of what they value most? If we know we're going to have to wipe all this stuff out, we ought to really be well aware of what people will be most upset about.
Commissioner, that was part of the discussion in the materials, that once we know what's on the ballot and we come back to you in April, we would give you those options in terms of a public outreach campaign, whether that includes any sort of formal survey. But again, you're going to be a year ahead of the impacts of the amendment. So you would have that advantage to position yourself for FY28.
Okay. And I would think actually it'd be good to do a survey like that anyways, whether or not this are hitting the ballot, because this is going to continue, and we ought to be aware, as commissioners have also said, about doing what we can ahead of time on efficiencies beyond what we currently do as this comes up. This is not going away anytime soon. And then I also want to thank FAC, and I also want to thank Vince and everyone who's been representing us and our other local counties on this matter over the years, and especially this year, because we often are asked by constituents, why do we have to do this? Why can't we do that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't match with what we want. And we have to give the frustrating answer of the state has recently preempted it. The state has recently preempted it. And it's hard to get people to be able in their day-to-day busy lives to get ahead of it and know what's going on now. I think that's our job over the course of this year. And the main thing I think that I want people to be aware of is doing something like this at a state level takes away your control of how you want your county to be. There are counties in Florida where their local citizens have decided they don't want to pay much in property taxes, and they don't want libraries and parks and community health services like we do, and they get to choose that. And there are counties like ours where citizens have decided and voted in people who support paying more in property taxes to be able to have full library, full community services, full support, and full health and wellness impacts, and a really robust structure for our community. And this takes away that opportunity. Even without an overreaching fiscal crisis by design from the state, if our citizens wanted us to make drastic cuts, they could ask us to do it directly, and that's not what they've done here. And so I think that's important for us to consider. As with everyone, I'm not looking forward to having to deal with what we do with this and face our constituents who rely on us for a lot of what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Ken, I wanted to ask, in our notes, we were told that the board authorized funding to hire a consultant to assess the county's revenue structure and streams of revenue. Where are we on that?
Commissioner, you'll be getting an update on that at your April budget workshop with findings and recommendations and strategies to look at.
Commissioners, I may differ a little bit from most of you. I believe that either of the measures that were placed before us and given to us in our notebooks is going to pass. I don't think that the fat, nice little commercial is going to be helpful, wasting money. And if you put property tax relief on the ballot, I'm going to guesstimate that it's going to do better than recreational marijuana. I really believe that. Well, our fight is a legal one. And I would say to our county attorney that even if we had to fight like hell to keep this thing off the ballot, I think the issue of home rule, what does it mean? I think that the false classifications of protected classes, firemen, police, the other protected classes, why they protected and the masses are neglected and left to be injured from draconian cuts that they have placed in front of the voters to do to themselves. Secondly, these are not legislative, this is not legislative reform, this is legislative deform. And why does the legislature, they're not cutting anything, it's the counties that are cutting. So for the legislators to take any bowels of what we've done, they need to, if they want to get serious about something, what they ought to be sharing with us is access to the gas tax. We don't have access to utility taxes. There are other protected measures that they refuse to utilize, which we cannot preempt or usurp. I think there's a constitutional imbalance in their dictates to home rule. What does home rule mean? We need to litigate and fight like cats fight dogs. I also believe, commissioners, that President of Florida State walked in and said if we needed anything and blah, blah, blah. And I talked to the president before I came in, he and his wife. And I believe that the president can be helpful. And he has a law firm over there on Pensacola Street, across the street from the Civic Center. And we need to engage FSU law students as a special project. What is the Fight Back Florida? What does home rule mean in Florida? And why can't we utilize all of those legal minds? If this president wants to be helpful, he certainly has intellectual capital to lend to the struggle. Commissioners, I'm not expecting much from, I talked to Davin last week over at the Capitol, a whole different kind of struggle. This whole anti-DEI, and the Attorney General opining that there are 80 laws that, in his personal opinion, no one asks his opinion, he offers his opinion to himself and says that there are 80 laws that will impact and need to unconstitutional, he says. What's unconstitutional is the fact that we don't get to tax the alcohol and gas and get some of that money. And what's unconstitutional is the state refuses to close loopholes that the bigs, the corporates might pay. Can we level a corporate tax as some communities have? The billionaire companies, the Walmarts, we're not going to sue Buc-ee's out yet. We're going to let them get here first and get the pumps rolling, Mr. Chairman. But the Amazons and the Walmarts sitting up here, can we do a local tax there? We need to go and fight the fight with which is required that we see is coming our way. And I'm certain that when that consultant makes recommendations, then all 5 of us district commissioners gonna have to fight each other. And me and Caban is gonna have to tighten up and fight Welch and all his greedy district. And I'm gonna say he has a needy district, and it's gonna be a fight for limited resources that we've not seen. But I don't think that we should react to that without first. Then finally, Mr. Chairman, we have capital which we never capitalize on. And we need to file lawsuits like, you know, fighting for Greenland or something, like fighting for Venezuela. We're fighting really for not just the soul of America, but for all of Florida. And our advantage is the second judicial circuit, we hold offices just above their heads. And I think that if there's any government of the 67 county governments in Florida that would have a sensitive ear, Leon County filing lawsuit in the Augustus Aikens courthouse will have an open, a sensitive ear to the egregious posture And the good thing about the track record of the Second Judicial Circuit is that they have not rolled over and been no judicial chumps and wimps. So we're fortunate that we have a battery of judges who remain committed to their oaths and possibly have an interest in understanding how you create classes of citizens who get to be protected and held harmless, and everybody else goes to hell in first class section. This is wrong. And I believe that I believe strongly that the compartmentalizing of special classes of citizens who can be held harmless, and there is absolutely no crisis that Florida can articulate that justifies the rest of us who are not in the special class being harmed. Because how does it advantage the state of Florida that our trash get picked up once a month? How does it advantage the state of Florida that we don't fix potholes in Leon County? What is the advantage for the state of Florida that we don't have libraries for our children to go to? I don't understand the public purpose, the public use, what elevates the state of Florida, because we don't have sidewalks. This is the ignorance. And this is why the cacophony of ignorance combined as potential measures to put in front of the people to shoot themselves with, and you really can't let people shoot themselves. Fight this at the courthouse, all out war. And I believe that the rest of the state depends on us. We is the Capital County Commission located across the street. We have something nobody else has. And we got the circuit, the second, that will listen to our pleas if we articulate them. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the time. I'm not even looking at this in terms of a campaign. If you ain't fighting this, you're just wasting time. We have to fight, and it should be a legal war, and it ought to be with Florida State's law school students doing a hell of a lot of research on this issue. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think in times like this, we have to remember our tagline in being people-focused and performance-driven. I have a question for those who Nick, you may be able to answer, or Vince, one of you two. Has a property tax initiative ever failed?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Has any of the property tax initiatives that have come from the state and have been put on the ballot ever failed? Or as of recent?
Since 2006, 4 of the 17 have failed. It was after the 60% threshold was put in, so they just failed to make 60%.
Right. And not that it matters, but where they fall from that 60%?
They were not far.
Yeah. I think I was watching a movie this weekend, a little trash TV for me, but at one scene, the guy says, "Sell me a pen. Sell me a pen." And he said, "Write your name." All of a sudden, the guy needed a pen. He was able to sell him a pen. I think this comes down to value. I don't think it comes down to us fighting against the state on whether they should do this or not, or the idea of home rule. All that stuff is relevant, but when it comes down to it, this is on the ballot. How do we show value enough to our constituents? They see it not robbery for us to continue to operate with property taxes the way we've operated in the past. I don't think we're doing enough. I think in Leon County, I think we do a decent job, but I will say statewide, there's not enough of a premium on marketing how great our services are and what we actually provide. We don't have a budget for that. Most people will see that as waste, but when it comes to moments like this where the state's trying to take 93 million of 105 that you got, I think these are the times that we start to sell the pen and show how relevant and how needed that we are, not just in Leon County, but across the state. I have another question, because I think we have to be fair in this. Mr. Administrator, what has been our property tax growth, say year by year over year?
It's fluctuated very little. Our value increases again, and to your point, Commissioner Maddox, I think you have a lot of South Florida representatives who are in particular very engaged on this issue, who have seen in their counties 19%, 20%, 22%, 25% growth year in and year out. I tell legislators a good year for Leon County is 9%, a bad year is 7%. I mean, we're very steady, and so, again, I think that's part of the issue that's driving a lot of this.
And so with that being said, if you think about, let's think about those South Florida representatives and commissioners and counties and residents that we're talking about, can you imagine? Can you imagine if one year we had 25% increase in revenues in Leon County? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what that looks like for us? I'm not even sure this board would accept that kind of increase without cringing a bit. So can we say that the state is wrong for those representatives that are coming from those counties and cities are wrong for wanting to look at something like this? I don't think that we can. Is it a problem if you're taking in 25% year after year after year, 19% year after year after year of property tax increases, and you're not increasing the millage, the property rate or the property prices are just going up so rapidly, so quickly that you're picking up these kind of revenues? I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm sure if we had a problem like that, we'd probably try to do something about it. But there's other ways to do something about it. I think going nuclear on counties like Leon County that does not experience that 25%, 19%, 18% growth is not the way to go about it. I think we do a good job of managing our revenues. I think we do a great job of making sure that we're fair to our citizens and the property taxes that we bring in, and our services are second to none. That's why every year we get award after award after award after award. And I'm proud of what County Administrator and you all, the staff, has done to show value. I just think when it comes down to it, Commissioner Parker may have a point in that this will be on the ballot. But does it sound good to a resident to say that 60% or whatever the number is going to be of your property taxes could be saved in a year or over 10-year phase in? Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? Everybody loves to sell, right? But when you juxtapose that with the fact of what is the value proposition? What is the value that you lose by foregoing giving that 60%? Everybody will pay for something that's worth it. Everybody will pay for something that's worth it. Nobody's going to complain about it when it's worth it. Everybody will pay for something that they absolutely know that they need. Everybody will pay for something that they absolutely know that they need. How do we become that relevant in our constituents' lives? How do we become that relevant statewide? How do counties become that relevant in Florida citizens' lives? And so I think we got to think about that. As far as, I think last year, what was the cut the state did last year to their revenues, if there was any?
The communication services tax revenue,
How much was it?
it's a few hundred thousand,
Percentage?
few hundred thousands.
I mean, have they ever
Yeah.
even contemplated cutting this type of percentages out of their revenues?
I'll give you just a good example. I don't want to prolong the debate, but it really sort of puts the issue really in focus when you consider, and Ken and I have talked about this a lot, the Florida legislature is responsible for one property tax. It's called the RLE for schools.
Right.
If you look at the trend lines of what counties have done and what the legislature has done in the one property tax that they control, it's the same.
Right.
So
Right. So I'll end on that note. I just think right now, Commissioner Parker makes a good point. I think this gets put on the ballot, but I think our focus, facts focus, other counties focuses that believe in home rule and what we're trying to do needs to be around showing the value that we are to our citizens, such as that they'll fight for us while we're fighting for ourselves. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
might.
you're recognized, Commissioner Parker.
Directly on point to what Commissioner Maddox raised. And his question was, has the state ever inflicted upon themselves this kind of loss of revenue? And I would say that to that question, what the state has done religiously, in particular beginning with Governor Jeb Bush, is to create loopholes and for corporate entities in the state to not pay taxes. So the state has denied itself income, and to the extent that they defer and disallow corporations to pay taxes in the state is to the extent that they've been willing to deny themselves income. But offsetting what they refuse to assess to the bigs should not be offset upon others who are not qualified as the bigs are in those selective class. And I could just say that, you know, to make sure everybody understands when you select a class, who benefits and who, it's like saying you black and you can't live in this neighborhood. This is off for you. Stand down. This is exactly what occurs when we do the citizens of our state, that they're protected. The bigs don't pay corporate taxes and da-da-da-da. So I just wanted to be on point to reflect on
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor.
Maddox's
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Commissioners, you know, this issue of property tax is something I'm a little, you know, kind of torn about. Because one, I do believe that the affordability crisis is real. I do believe property taxes have, I mean, I don't believe, this is factual. Property taxes have outpaced growth relative to population in most counties across the state of Florida, Leon County included. So there's a reason why it's so popular amongst voters. And that's because voters feel that their property taxes, that they're paying more in property taxes than the service that they are receiving, right? And so I think we as local elected officials should look at that a little bit as a reflection point, right? One, are we educating our constituents well enough to know that this is what they're getting with their property taxes, and this is the service we're providing? Two, I think that they need to be confident in what they're paying in property taxes. And three, I ultimately think that we need to make sure that we are holding our ground when necessary before, whether or not we roll the millage rate up or back, or even if we don't roll it back, right? Every year that I've been elected on this board, our budget has increased, surpassing population growth relative to property taxes. And every single year, I voted against the millage rate because I think we should look at rolling it back. However, again, why I'm torn on this is I'm not naive to the fact that we provide great services with those property taxes and many, many essential services. However, I will go back to my original point, the affordability crisis is real. And so when you look at what's going on with property values that have gone up significantly since 2019 and 2020, and you look at the services that we are providing, well, I believe the sheriff's budget was roughly $80 million in 2019. And what is the proposed budget of the sheriff's, Rashonda, what's the proposed sheriff's budget this year in 2026? 125, so it went from roughly 80 to 125. That's what percent increase? 50% plus? From that point, what's the change from that point to now? 2019 to now. So I think it's, if we, let's call it 80 million, if there's proposed 125, 50% would be 120. So it's over 50%. It's over 50% increase. And what's our population change from 2019? Does anyone know?
I could tell you, but I could also tell you, and again, all good points, but our cost increases are not tied to population growth.
So that's what I'm, that is actually, thank you, Mr. County Administrator, because that actually, I believe, proves my point, right? Is that we're serving roughly the same amount of people with a significantly higher budget. And granted, we are providing great services, right? But I think that for us as local government, Commissioner Proctor, I'm down to fight always, right? Especially for our people. But I think what's very, very important for us right now as a board is to be prepared for change, be prepared to adapt. We have an incredible staff. We have an incredible county administrator. And I think that we should look at leading the way and be prepared for change. And, this budget cycle, constitutional officers are going to come to us and they're going to ask us for an increase, right? Just like they do every single year. I think it's important that we start relaying to them, hey, we got to pump the brakes here until we see what change is coming, not only this year, but in future years. Also, I think that we need to look at big picture when I talk about adapt and changing. I've talked about, blueprint in our sales tax for years. And listen, we have $1 billion plus in projects over the next 20 years. And if there's going to be significant impacts to our budget, like it's being proposed in front of us, we might have to go back to voters and ask them, are some of these projects more important than providing essential services? Because we may need some of that sales tax revenue. That's a conversation I think we as a board should look at having. And two is, we've already had this discussion, but consolidation. I know it's something we're going to talk about with voters in a straw poll this fall. However, we need to look at all options on the table if we're looking at a 20 to 30% budget impact. But one thing I will say is I believe this board can roll with the punches. I believe our staff can roll with the punches. I believe that no matter what happens, we'll be creative. We will adapt, and we will figure out a way to provide good essential services. But I'll close with this. I do think that, Mr. County Administrator, we should look at, through our community media and relations, making sure that we are educating our constituents about the true and the services that we provide with our property taxes. A good one is look at Oak Ridge Road. We just repaved Oak Ridge Road. We have speed feedback signs. Great work to our public works crew. But those road improvements, sidewalks, road improvements, those aren't happening. And so I think letting folks know the correlation between the two is equally important in the conversation that we're having today. So, Commissioners, I'm going to move on to our next topic, which is artificial intelligence. Mr. County Administrator, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, again, we can't talk about the future and kind of preparing for the future without talking about this next subject. And I just wanted to let the board know we're seeking no action from you on this, but we do have a presentation on this, and Matt's going to help us make up time. No pressure there, Matt. And on this, I convened a cross-departmental work group recently, Commissioners, where to develop an AI policy along with practical guidance and resources to support responsible long-term AI integration into county operations. And so that policy will be coming back to the board later this year. I've asked Matt just to provide a brief presentation on this. I promise you Matt's presentation was only done 95% by AI. But Matt's ready to roll.
Well, the real challenge, Mr. Administrator, is to find out which 5% was made by a human. So I'll let you guys figure that out as we go. To the administrator's point, though, about making up some time, there's one thing that artificial intelligence does particularly well, and that's summarization. So let me move very, very quickly by pushing the pedal to the metal. But the few things to walk away from this brief update, and again, as the administrator had said, this will be coming back to the board later in this year as a fleshed out policy with further analysis, so stay tuned. But this opportunity is really to gesture to the fact that this is the right time and inflection point for effective, innovative organizations to be considering artificial intelligence policies. And in the realms of procurement, legal complications, and training and compliance, and all the other good things. This is that moment. We are in that right time right now. In addition to that, we have the foundation in place to not only move forward with the policy, but to pilot projects as we develop the policy, which is a very significant opportunity to make it real world practicable. The last bit is this is going to take an organization-wide effort. Absolutely. We'll talk about the work group composition at the end, and then I'll turn it back over. But hey, real quick, AI or artificial intelligence is a leadership priority, not a technology project. I'm going to be very clear about that with the folks in the room. That is why this is part of the strategic retreat today, is to talk about how it aligns with the 5-year strategic plan and goals of the county. AI is a leadership priority, not a technology project. So again, whole community-wide effort in addition to the organization. Here is why now is the right time. Look, there is guidance at the national level. There is guidance at state association levels. We're talking about National Association of County. We're talking about other large organizations and counties that have made these policies now. This is that right time, again, for the most effective and professional organizations to be picking up this policy and in the future implementing it organization-wide. I want to say just why is this the right time also? Because just 4 days ago at the College of Law, just nearby, it was the AI Day in the Capitol, bringing together some of the smartest minds, both legal and in artificial intelligence and technologists and all the other good stuff. And that was part of Sergio Ortega was there from Amazon, having the opportunity to explain how artificial intelligence works on global scales and how it can work for you locally. That is part of why that's time. In addition, Tallahassee State College, in partnership with UF, is having an AI in the classroom or in the education space just this week. Again, all the right resources and minds are levied and specific on this topic. In the interest of time, we're not going to get our hands too dirty right now, but I can't really talk too much with you commissioners if I don't explain a little bit about, well, what is artificial intelligence? Hey, if you pin me down in an elevator and you asked, what is that and what does it mean to me? It is the autocorrect of complex work. What I mean that is if you're texting on your phone and things like that, there's that spell check that's catching you, maybe even right now, changing those words to what they really should be rather than what you tried to put into your phone. That is the opportunity that we have in artificial intelligence across all of the complex essential services that we do at the county to be able to levy that technology and apply it to the space to do better work, to find errors, and to also be very cognizant of the risk associated with applying artificial intelligence to the workplace. Because not only is it a formative technology that can really move you forward, but it does have the opportunity to amplify issues within the data that it uses. So again, the quick hands-on project today would have been pulling up the ChatGPT or another large language model, and we'd say, hey, write a poem about Leon County's natural beauty in the voice of Wu-Tang Clan or something. I would appeal to you. Artificial intelligence can easily creatively make that poem for us. That would not be the issue. When I tell you that, hey, I'm going to use artificial intelligence to apply it to building permits to make sure that your roof doesn't collapse or that your bathroom is done to code or that your insurance continues, then you're like, wait, hold on. That's a little bit different than cute. We're getting a little away from creative. I would also say artificial intelligence can be applied to things like, I don't know, your healthcare information. It can diagnose, it can do these things. At that moment, everyone in this room would say, well, hold on. That's not that poem from Wu-Tang Clan that we were talking about. That's something that is genuinely important and essential and must absolutely be right. So that's where we are at that inflection point right now, where we can levy these resources to help us do that essential work. But there is an expectation not only, I would assume, of this board, our administrator, and our public to do it right, transparently, and to build trust. So when we talk about applying it to these spaces, we follow foundational use. This is all established at the national and highest level about these are the basic foundations that you need to process when you talk about artificial intelligence. Your materials talk more, there's more specifics in there, but please know, informed by the National Institute of Technologies, it's informed not only by the National Association of Counties, but other areas, is the work that we do in our work group, and in addition, bringing our expertise to bear. Speaking of that, what you see up on the table or screen right now is the folks that are in the room as part of this work group that meets monthly. It is chaired by me, because I didn't run away fast enough when Vince was looking for someone. No, seriously, it's chaired by me because of the role that we have spanning across all the work areas and the familiarity we have not only in emergency management, but convening people together to do good, focused work from a lot of different disciplines. So you've got IT and cybersecurity, obviously. When I say it's not a technology project, it doesn't mean that there's not technology involved. Legal and compliance and budget and chastity sits with us, and human resources and workforce development, because whatever policy you implement, if people don't know that it exists, it really doesn't much matter that you got a policy. So it's about staff training and personnel, and most especially in the realm of public safety and emergency management. There are initial pilots done in other communities about applying artificial intelligence to 911 call taking, triage, and curating. Obviously, those are high stakes elements, and those need to have a policy that undergirds them to make sure that they're effective, that they're considered and assessed, and maybe even by policy, not implement it. We're not saying that every instance of artificial intelligence in the work area for the county makes a bunch of sense. Many do not at this time and may do so in the future. And again, data governance, privacy, and ethics, and then the public information component, the public trust. If we are not implementing artificial intelligence in the interest of transparency and public trust, well, we shouldn't implement it at all. And fundamentally, that is also about data security and privacy and where does your data go when you give it to someone? Does it train a model? All of these are big considerations of the work group that chew on it day in and day out to bring back to this board later in this year with that fleshed out policy and analysis. So again, I do want to gesture to the fact that we do have guardrails in place right now for the tight, focused implementation of artificial intelligence in some use cases within the county, because that just helps us make a better policy. We can't write from an ivory tower that says, thou shalt do a thing, if we don't have the ability to use it while implementing this policy. Again, all in the most controlled and specific environments. I bring this up too because as Dr. Angela Long from the Tallahassee State College has said, we had the opportunity to work with her over the past several weeks to vet our policy, talk more about what it does in large strokes. She says very clearly to us, artificial intelligence can be likened to that of fire, where fire brings to you the ability to cook food, warm homes, and have a better house and safety, but it can also burn that same house down. That's a dramatic analogy, but it's something that we need to really hold close through the work of this work group that will deliver on all of these key areas you see up. We'll establish that purpose and scope. We'll bring back, most importantly, and I'm just going to highlight one of these bullets, again, all that is in your materials, the human in the loop standard. What that means is a human initiates a request or receives that information back and then disseminates that information or takes that action with artificial intelligence. No artificial intelligence right now contemplated in the policy acts independently with the public or staff. It always needs to have a staff member who has been trained and is ready to engage with that data, check that data. This is a distrust and verify model when it comes to providing artificial intelligence and making sure that it is improving the work area and promoting public trust. So again, in the very, very quick AI summarization point, that's where we are at right now, having met many different times since convened by the administrator, and this will come back to the board later in the year with more detail. So there you go. There was 5% in there that was human-made, I swear.
Commissioner Minor, to recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Matt, thank you for the presentation, and I fully agree with the county's position on this and being very cautious and deliberative about the steps we take. The opportunities are incredible, but I used to be an IT guy. You know, when I graduated from college, I got my first job was as a consultant and spent 9 years working with Accenture, developing enterprise systems, and did a lot of work overseas as well as the United States. So I have that tech background. And so I feel like I've got to be the person in the room just to kind of talk about some of the concerns that are out there. And this doesn't apply to what the county's work is doing. I think the county's doing exactly the thing it has to do, taking the right steps right now to be very thoughtful about how to proceed. But I just want to bring up a couple of things really quickly. You know, the godfather of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, he won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2024. And he talks a lot about artificial intelligence having tremendous potential benefits for healthcare, for education, medicine, et cetera. But he also says that we've got to be very concerned about it. He has a great metaphor that I'm going to read real quickly. The best way to understand AI is to picture a metaphor of somebody who has this really cute tiger cub. Unless you can be very sure that it's not going to want to kill you when it grows up, you should worry. Now he's talking about the potential control of AI of society, but I bring that up because I really want to talk more about the potential benefit, the potential concerns we have here in Leon County with regard to the workforce. Leon County has 160,000 jobs. In the coming year or two or whatever, I mean, we may see AI eliminate those jobs. Conservatively, let's just say 10%. Now, a lot of experts say the elimination of jobs because of AI could be much greater than that, but let's just say 10%. That means we have 16,000 people in Leon County who may be, whose jobs may be eliminated in the near future. what that means for us is we just need to, as a community, not just Leon County, but as a community, we need to really think that carefully through and make sure that this community is prepared as best it can be with that tremendous shift in our labor force. The Tallahassee State College is doing some really good work now in planning the classroom of the future for AI as well as the job market. But as a community, we've got to be very cognizant of that and make sure that we do everything we can to be prepared for what could be a tremendous tectonic shift in the job market here and how that might affect the community, how that would affect county government. I just feel like I need to bring that up because it's something that we will be dealing with in the near future. But all that being said, what the county's doing here, the working group it's set up, the expertise within that working group is just the right level of expertise we need to do to take a look at how we can apply AI here in the county. We just need to be careful about how incredible change in technology is going to affect our lives and how we can prepare for it so we can maximize the benefit and minimize the downsides. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, I just wanted to add, I used an AI generator that's approved by Leon County Schools recently to have my students do a scavenger hunt of Leon County's 2025 annual report, and no amount of generative AI could help students pronounce Azagagi or Lamy. And both of their kids go to my school. So I just wanted to say that it does still require some authentic intelligence in the world to pronounce their names. All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you for that important information, Commissioner Welch. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to everyone for putting thought into this. I see there's benefits to it, and I appreciate that we make sure we categorize the risk here because I don't know about y'all commissioners, but sometimes I go to these conferences and they get my number and they call me and say, we can do these great AI customer services stuff. And I want to tell them, is it the same AI bot that my bank uses or that any other company uses? And it's complete trash. So I just appreciate that we need to make sure that we focus on quality and not just sales pitches so that we continue to be the most responsive local government here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioners, my comment on this is very brief. I mean, listen, I think anyone can see where the future is headed relative to AI. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have certain downfalls. However, one thing that I think is important, and Commissioner Minor, you pointed this out, but Tallahassee State College has an AI program for students. I think it's a part of their AS program. And any way, shape, or form that we could, collaborate with Tallahassee State College through Leon County, just to provide, continued education, whether for students or just as a community, I think will be very beneficial as we all just work together. So, any other comments relative to this topic, commissioners? All right, well, listen, commissioners, it is 11:44. We will do a brief break till noon, and then we will be about 30 minutes behind schedule. And so we'll come back and we'll talk about our strategic plan updates, and then we'll be out of here. All right?
Young lady, is 3 o'clock gonna work for you? Okay, all right, I'll see you out there at 3 o'clock. All right.
I will call this meeting back into session at 12:01 PM. Commissioners, before we get started on the next item, I would like to take a quick moment and privilege to recognize our FSU Student Senate President, Alexia Holiday. That's here. Alexia, will you stand up? Additionally, we have the Student Senate Pro Tempore, Camille Fryall. Thank you for allowing us to use your chambers. We are in the student SGA, the Senate SGA chamber. So appreciate you guys taking the time to say hello and be here. And thank you for allowing us to use your chambers today. All right, commissioners, we will now pick up where we left off. We're on section 3, strategic plan update for fiscal year 2026. And to start, we will have a status report on the strategic plan progress presented by our county administrator and team. Mr. County Administrator, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'm going to jump right back in. First, we're going to just quickly walk through some of the key elements of the strategic plan before providing a snapshot on our progress and our initiatives and our 5-year targets and bold goals. And again, just a quick overview. But as you see here, these elements are not intended to change, as you know, because they're adopted as a part of the 5-year plan. We've got our vision statement, our mission statement, again, not intended to change. If you go to our 4 priority areas, our strategic priority areas of the economy, the environment, quality of life, and governance, and along with those directional statements, again, those are not intended to change, but critical elements. And next year, we'll be back working on those as we go through our plan year. That gets us, commissioners, to our summary on the screen of our progress to date on our strategic initiative. So we have 102 strategic initiatives in the pipeline in this 5-year plan. You know, those are the actionable items that effectuate those directional statements in those 4 priority areas. There are currently 96 of the 102 strategic initiatives, or 94%, that are complete, with the remaining 6 initiatives in progress and on track to be completed by the end of the plan year. And to be sure, commissioners, many of the initiatives under the complete category do not stop, but rather reflect programs and policies that, once in place, obviously remain in place and require continued resources to support. And so it's been, we've also included a complete ongoing subcategory, so you can contemplate between those that are complete and ongoing versus those that are complete in their entirety. Those are the one and dones. And again, those are characterized as such in the summary. Again, commissioners, your retreat materials, beginning on page 51, contain a detailed analysis of each of the current 102 strategic initiatives that are in the plan. Again, and that number will grow today with the board's addition of new strategic initiatives. So to round this out, commissioners, again, the last part of my overview, I want to briefly touch on our bold goals and targets. As you may recall, the county's goals and targets are aligned with each of our strategic priority areas. Again, our 5-year targets, they're important because they communicate to the public and to staff the aggregate level results we expect to accomplish over a 5-year period of time. And of course, our bold goals, which were adopted into the strategic plan back in 22, because we felt it was important to really push ourselves and have stretch goals that we didn't know whether we'd be able to achieve or not. And they were, by definition, very ambitious. And so each of our strategic priority areas also has a bold goal, which you see before you, again, all of which we continue to make very good progress on, and we believe we're going to hit in our plan horizon. So again, commissioners, we continue to make great progress on that. Beginning on page 114 in your materials is a detailed analysis for every target and each bold goal. And again, these 5 years bold goals and 5-year targets, again, are adopted as part of the 5-year plan, are not intended to change. But that brings us to, commissioners, our final section of the day, which will provide the board the opportunity to discuss amending or adding strategic initiatives to the current plan. As you may know, the county's plan is a living document, so it's intended to be updating to reflect changing needs and conditions and opportunities of the organization and the community. And so with that in mind, the board may wish to add new or amend existing strategic initiatives Again, I should probably tell the board, I probably don't have to even mention this, probably a good idea to keep some of the earlier conversations we've had in mind about property taxes and some of the uncertainties in mind as you're developing those. Included in your retreat materials and as shown on the screen, staff has included, as we do each year, a list of proposed strategic initiatives just to sort of start the list. Many of the ones that we put up there are just those that we amend from year to year to reflect the change or an evolution in that particular initiative. So in one year, it may be consider a program. The next year, it may be adopted. Next year, it may be implement. So it just considers that next step to an existing initiative. So that, again, kind of gets the ball rolling. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting back to the chairman to facilitate the board's identification of new strategic initiatives. And as part of tomorrow's agenda, of course, there will be a ratification item which will reflect all of which the board adopts today. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Commissioners, before we get started on this, a couple quick things. One, Madam Attorney, does it take, I have this in my notes, so I want to clarify. Any new strategic initiative or any amendment to an existing one, does that require a supermajority vote or simple majority?
Simple majority.
Simple?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, Commissioners, what I intend to do is just go around the room, everyone will have the floor. I just ask, I'm not going to be on a time crunch with everyone. Just be respectful so everyone has adequate time. And if we need to have a conversation on an item, we will. What I intend to do is go around the room, everyone provide their strategic initiative, and we do one formal motion to adopt at the end. So it'll be all under one motion. If I do feel like something happens to be, controversial by any means, I will just use my chairman discretion to pull that one and we vote on it separate at the end of after every commissioner has had the opportunity to speak. So with that being said, we will go ladies first. And Commissioner Cummings, you are recognized for any strategic proposed initiatives or changes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We hear you. Wonderful.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I want to thank the county administrator for the overview and for the summary. And I'm just so proud of all of the goals that have been reached and several have been achieved. And I think we owe that to our great staff and employees throughout the county. Excuse me, sorry about that. I'm very proud, though, when I look at the goals and targets that we have achieved and in the area of permanent supportive housing. I see that we've almost completed our goal, and we still have a year left on this particular 5-year plan. I'm also just real proud of our human services initiatives. I'd like to, and as you guys know, I have special affinities for our women and our children. I'm proud of the bold goal that we have to place individuals who are homeless in supportive housing. And when I look at our goal and the fact that we have completed over 80% of our projection, I'm just very, very proud of that, Mr. Chair. But I've got a primary concern in the human services area with homelessness as it relates specifically to our women and our children. And as many of you know, I sit on the Children's Services Council, and we have established several family resource centers in our communities in Woodville and in, Fort Braden and in our Cross Creek area. We've been holding weekly meetings in Frenchtown, area, Springfield area, and it's just the anecdotal testimony from many of those individuals that have attended those weekly meetings that has really touched my heartstrings. And when I hear anecdotals of women coming out of the woods on a daily basis to receive food and other accommodations, taken back into the woods for family and children, it makes me question our society and how a civilized society here in the 21st century. It just bothers me that we have children living in the woods. I'm not sure, and the anecdotal individuals weren't sure if they were in school, how they take baths, their hygiene. And one thing we do know that our children aren't cared for properly. Even if they go to school, they're not in a great posture to learn or to survive or to thrive. So one of the things that I'm concerned with is sheltering our homeless women and children. And so one of the initiatives, strategic initiatives that I'd like to add is to explore opportunities for additional collaboration with the Children's Services Council of Leon County and the community partners to further support women and children experiencing homelessness. And that's just sort of, in my opinion, being a little bit more specific with our bold goals to place homeless individuals in permanent supportive housing. I would just like us commissioners to be more specific as we look at homeless women and homeless children. And I certainly hope, Mr. Chair, I plan to raise something similar at our commission meeting, and I certainly hope and ask for the support of the commissioners when I ask for an agenda item to come back to look more specifically at how we can be a lot more proactive and intentional and deliberate into alleviating homelessness as it relates to our women and our children. They should not be living in the woods. And I don't know how we can be a society that advocates no child left behind if we have children that are living in the woods. Now, Madam County Attorney, I know that there's a concern from parents about children and families and the fact that if they have the children living in the woods, that the children could be taken away. There's a concern that perhaps they're neglecting their children, and under child neglect, they could fall within the dependency court for sheltered children. So I know that's a concern, but I'm hoping with an agenda item that I plan to raise at our commission meeting that we can explore that and perhaps look at maybe some alternatives or some, not just alternatives, but there might be some items in the law where we can address this homeless segment of the population without triggering dependency actions. So that's the initiative that I'd like to add. Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if it should be as form of a motion, or if so, I move that particular initiative, and I can repeat it if necessary.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. What I'll do, we'll put them all up on the board, and then we'll ratify them with one motion at the end. So yours is up on the board.
Okay. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, ma'am. We have it on the board right now.
Okay. There's one other thing I'd like to raise as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, I'd like to add the county to support the Children's Services Council in establishing a family resource center to serve residents in the Frenchtown and Griffin Heights communities. Now, I do know, we already have a goal in general with supporting the Children's Services Council as it relates to, I think, Fort Brayton. But I'd just like to add that as an initiative as well for support for Frenchtown, Griffin Heights communities. And as there are county facilities available in those areas to explore housing of a family resource center in those facilities as well.
Okay. County Administrator is nodding his head and he says he got it. I think they're working on it right
Oh,
now.
awesome.
Is there anything else, Madam Commissioner?
That's all I have, Mr. County, Mr. Chair, as it relates to adding strategic initiatives. I might have a comment or two later, but thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your input on those two items. Commissioners, I'm just going to go around the room. Commissioner Minor, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few months ago, the board approved county support for the development of a digital literacy program. This program would be directed toward the public to help the public avoid scams like phishing, identity theft, et cetera, as well as helping to help them build productivity with AI. Development in that program is ongoing. It's going really well, and we think that the first course will be conducted for the public in March. Speaking with the county administrator the other day, we wanted to go ahead and basically make this a strategic initiative level effort because of the comments I made before. The more resilient we can help our public become with technology and AI, the better. So this strategic initiative would read as the following: launch a digital initiative in partnership with local stakeholders for residents to strengthen online safety, scam awareness, and practical AI skills through accessible workshops, clear branding, and coordinated outreach. And I think staff already has that text that they can put on the board. But that would be the strategic initiative that I would add, and that's it. That's what I have today, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Is there anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Vice Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two. We had a thorough community health needs assessment done by TMH, and I'd like to add that we identify opportunities to support the findings of that community health needs assessment to improve overall health outcomes by addressing our community's most significant health-related needs. And I believe the administrator already has that.
That look good?
Looks good.
Cool.
And the other is, as it relates to what we see more and more are vacant or abandoned big box commercial properties. So, in particular, I think about Appalachia Parkway and the old Toys R Us building, the strip mall there at the next intersection. We start to see more vacancies, and the risks that things like major malls become more and more vacant, and it really has a detrimental effect to the community. And so I'd like to add a strategic initiative to evaluate the comprehensive plan and land development codes to identify and implement regulatory incentives to support reuse of vacant big box commercial sites that are near jobs and transit along major corridors for affordable housing and or mixed use development. And those are the two that I have.
Awesome. Love that idea, Commissioner O'Keefe. I think there's a ton of opportunity for us to provide incentives for those locations too. Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each commissioners have established two. I'll linger with two. I was impressed by the conversation at the charter review chaired by Ms. Chauncey Haynes last week. And they came to a unanimous vote dealing with poverty as a matter of concern and focus for our community. If it comes to us from the charter review, I'd like to beat them there to say that we adopted as a measure that poverty, and I'm not sure, I'd have to massage the language between now and tomorrow, or this afternoon. But poverty, that we care, we focus, we strive to eliminate it or whatever. But I think that that language that was captured last week, I support. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, Florida A&M is desiring to establish a food council, and I believe that all things food, similar to those that Shinkton Lammy has crafted for us tomorrow, I think it's agenda item 10, I believe, in our agreement with Carter to do food distribution, excellent stuff. And I believe that FAMU's effort to take the A in FAMU and make it a capitalize agriculture to benefit our community is worthy of our support. That's my second one.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Maddox.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I have, please, one more, please.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Commissioner Maddox. Under quality of life, Q4, which support and promotes access to health care, mental health, affordable housing, and homeless prevention service, wanted to add in that the acquisition of National Forest property, which again is before us. It's an opportunity. I think it goes directly to Q4 and fits in neatly as an opportunity to facilitate mental health campus, affordable housing, and all that right there needs to occur.
Commissioner Proctor, I'm gonna have that be a separate one at the end.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Maddox, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have one, evaluate the feasibility of Leon County having a film incentive program.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Evaluate the feasibility of Leon County having a film incentive program. I think we maybe tangled with this a little in the past, but I would like for staff to look at it by analyzing models, projected economic impact, admin requirements, funding options, and performance matrices. So I think as we go down this road, I think we need to really think about how we, again, begin to think about how we push our name out there. And I think this film incentive model can bring things here that we didn't have before. So I like for us to look at that.
Love that idea, Commissioner Maddox. I think also we're at Florida State University. I think they have a great film program.
Right.
I think there's a ton of opportunities to look how we can even, get our students and partner with them. I think they have a new film school coming, right?
Mhm.
Is that, I believe so?
Yeah.
I love that initiative. Anything else?
I got a question about a second one. I just want to know if county administrator can help me. Do we have a digital performance dashboard for the county? Something that looks like kind of real-time matrices on budget, performance, public safety, permit times, and stuff like that?
We generally do it. It tends to be on a sort of decentralized basis, so it depends on which place. But to aggregate them all, we generally do that within the budget process and in the budget and brief process. But it's something we could look at to do, maybe sort of elevate it and have it all centralized in one place. And
As I was thinking about
Yeah.
what I was talking about earlier about letting people know who we are and what we do, that came to mind. So if I could add that.
and we could work out the details between now and tomorrow's ratification. We could
Right.
work out some wording and that sort of thing. But
So implementation
Yeah.
of a county digital performance dashboard that looks at real-time performance of matrices on the budget performance, public safety, permit times, service request, et cetera, stuff like that. Maybe even train staff in performance management and continuous improvement practices that we may look at. I'm still kind of letting staff build around it, but maybe even having a quarterly update to the board about what it looks like, what that performance matrices looks like, and the real time looks like for us. So if we can add that, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. Mr. Immediate Past Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one's relevant given our current setting, and you were involved in this as well, Mr. Chairman. FSU's Applied Politics and Policy Learning Experience for their undergraduate students involved them partnering with Matt Cavell and our disaster preparedness folks to come up with some practical ideas for application in sort of helping us continue to be, the most well-prepared county in the state of Florida when it comes to natural disasters and stuff like that. So my initiative would be to ask the county to partner with FSU's Apple program to actually implement those ideas from those undergraduate students to the extent possible. And furthermore, Mr. County Administrator, I think this is going to be a project that they continue to do in the future because there's a local government component of their programming. To the extent possible, can we continue to partner with them to, basically give these students an opportunity to actually come up with some real critical looks at our programming and find ways that we can improve it or make it better. And that's my initiative. Does that make sense to the Scrivener? Awesome. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Awesome. Commissioners, anything else? Anyone else? Awesome. Well, Commissioners, my strategic priority, as previously discussed, will be to utilize county and tourism resources to solidify the reoccurrence of our World Athletics Cross Country Championship here in Tallahassee and Leon County.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's controversial. We might need to.
Awesome, Commissioners. That's all I have. I know we've in previous years we put a lot on this board, and if you've read the material, you see that we've knocked a lot out. And I think next year will be the first the new 5 years. And so, Commissioners, what I'm going to do is,
Mr. Chairman, can I, if I will, real quick,
Yeah.
just have a question on your last one? Mr. Administrator, is my understanding that the World Cross Country Championships, it's held every other year, right? So like 28 would be the next one, but they're not doing one in 28 because of the Olympics. So 27 could be potentially the next World Cross Country Championships, which is happening sooner rather than later, right? So is that correct?
That's correct. They just decided to do it they do it every 2 years, so it corresponds with when I would actually finish the first race. But yeah, but that's right. So, and we're engaged with them on what that schedule looks like going forward.
Awesome, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
all right. Will someone make a motion to adopt? So move. We have these 11 priorities moved by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Welch. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Commissioner Proctor, you are recognized for your other strategic priority you wanted to just bring up.
Mr. Chairman, in wonderful times like these, we have the option of, if we would fill out a few sheets of paper of acquiring the national forest. I encourage, while the getting is good, that we make it an option that we pursue and answer the offer made by our federal government to their desire to relinquish federal lands. And certainly we could meet goals for affordable housing, mental health campuses, jail expansion, you name it. And I'd like to make that as our 12th priority.
We have,
Yes.
he's making a motion, so let's see if there's a second first.
I'll move.
Is there a second? All right, so Commissioner Proctor has a motion on the floor to utilize, can you restate the motion?
Motion is to accede to the offer of the U.S. federal government that federal lands they offer for the purposes of affordable housing, that we step to the plate and receive that, pursue it to help facilitate the dreams of our Q4 section.
So that's moved by Commissioner Proctor, second by Commissioner Maddox. Commissioner Proctor, to specify, you're talking about the national forest or any federal land outside of the national forest?
Those lands which qualify, for which the federal government continues to offer, if it's a federal, I don't think that it's but if it's a national forest or whatever lands they are, but they're tired of the 500 billion acres of property that they have, and they want they say they want affordable housing.
Okay. Mr. County Administrator, did you want to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Just to provide additional information that you have an existing strategic initiative as approved by the board, which is to, and I'll quote here, evaluate future opportunities to acquire eligible non-conservation federal lands for the provision of affordable housing and public services. That's the way your current adopted strategic initiative currently reads. Of course, the board has the ability to change or amend that, but I just wanted to let you know how your existing strategic initiative reads.
Mr. Chairman, I rescind my motion. Didn't know I had already achieved it. Thank you.
There you go.
I think it was the 2024 retreat.
I can't remember that part. That's
Yeah. Well, that's
That
okay.
sounds like something I would say.
All right, well, commissioners, listen, does anyone have any closing remarks?
Mr. Chairman, I think Commissioner Cummings had mentioned she had one more thing
Yes,
she wanted to talk
ma'am.
about.
Thank you for the friendly reminder. Commissioner Cummings, you are recognized for any closing remarks.
Thank you, Commissioner Caban. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to appear telephonically for this retreat. And just a heads up, I'm pretty sure I will not be able to be in person for our meeting tomorrow as well. But I just wanted to just give an overall shout out to our county administrator and to the staff for all the great work and all the achievements that we have recognized this last year. And I know last year, this time, we entertained the MagLab conference. I understand that it's scheduled, that national conference headed by OEV Keith Bowers and his staff. So I believe, Mr. County Administrator, that's coming up this year as well. So we have 2 accomplishments in that area in a row, and I'm looking forward to cross-country being in that same vein. But just thanks again for all the hard work of everyone, all the presentations by Matt and everyone else. Mr. Chair, I think you chaired a great retreat. I appreciate Florida State for the hospitality. Thank you. Thank you again. That's all I have.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. We hope you feel better. Commissioner Minor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, I just wanted to thank you for running a great retreat. Thank our other commissioners, and thank our staff for being here. I know you got busy jobs, but it matters to have you all here. Thank you very much. And then finally to FSU and the FSU Senate.
Yeah. Hey, Commissioners, real quick, let's give Commissioner Minor a round of applause. He had a huge win over the holidays with North Monroe Corridor. So I know Commissioner Minor's been working really hard on that project, and really is nice to see some large attention and funding coming to that corridor. I truly do believe is a heart of our community. So congratulations. All right, Commissioners, I don't see any other any plaques up. Up, Commissioner Welch.
Yeah, just wanted to echo those statements, guys. It's great to be back around the table with everybody. Awesome to see all our staff again. Looking forward to the best, potentially bad year we can possibly have, but we'll just, we'll do the best we can. And I know that we have the best staff in the world. And I always like this retreat as an opportunity to celebrate our staff as we start a new calendar year. And absolutely looking forward to the great leadership of our chairman, getting us through these meetings like lickety split, which I am here for. Let's go. All right, great. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Listen, it's going to be a great year. No matter what happens, it's going to be a great year. We're going to work together. We're going to get a lot of stuff done. All right, guys, meeting adjourned.